tecnologia,
inovação,
cibersegurança,
soluções IoT e inteligência artificial.
Tudo isso e muito mais sobre transformação digital e tendências do mercado
Você encontra aqui
no MacniCast.
So welcome to another episode of MacniCast. Today we have a very special guest, Silvia Kuo, who's the Associate Director for Business Development at ASUS in Taiwan. Silvia, welcome.
Thank you, Fabio.
Very nice to have you here in Florianopolis. Could you please maybe introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And we've been collaborating for a few years now. And what I do at ASUS is essentially I develop business in different territories. So my role is global. Depending on where there's a project, I will go and support it. And apart from that, I also have a different role internally. So internally, what I do is I bring in all the information that we gather in the market, and I work on the strategy, the product strategy, together with the product team. And this is important because we will give priority to different products that probably will take a long time to produce, right? So we give priority to different ideas.
Okay, great, wonderful. And so you were born in Argentina?
Yes.
And now you live in Taiwan?
Yes.
How was this trajectory and how did you end up where you are right now?
Right. It was a not very straightforward, I would say,
I can imagine.
journey into tech, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was born in Argentina, Buenos Aires, and because of that, I speak several languages. My parents are from Taiwan. That's the connection with Taiwan. So I think being exposed from a young age to different languages and having been to a British school as a kid, I think that gave me this international outlook. So I was always seeking for that kind of role. Okay. And I think, so I started with, in the past, in my past life, I was a teacher. I did business in commodities trading, different kinds of things. Okay. And I ended up in tech because I was very curious about how software actually is implemented. So the journey, the solving problems, I think that was what interested me. And the level of complexity, that's what kept me engaged. So that was how I went into tech.
Okay, yes. Wonderful. And what can you tell us about ASUS as a company? I mean, ASUS obviously is a huge corporation, and we normally associate ASUS with the client and server type of products. But if you can give us a bit of history and information about the company, that would be great.
Yes. So I'm sure that everybody knows ASUS for their laptops.
Yes.
And a lot of them...
we have a few here.
Yes, I'm sure. And screens and also gaming. The gaming products are very famous. We have a brand, Republic of Gamers, which has become very famous among gamers. And so this is the systems business group. Under ASUS, there are 3 different business groups. So the systems one is the one that probably most people know. This is dedicated to the consumer goods. The second business group is called Open Platform. So all of the components, motherboards and screens, and that was the second one. And the third one, which is quite recent, recently established, is the one that I belong to. So this is the AIoT, so the AI/IoT business group. And under it, we have the IoT business unit, which is dedicated to all of the hardware. And we also have the AIS, which is the AI Solutions business unit, which is dedicated to the AI solution. So we have engineers that do the AI models, and they, in some of the cases, they also do the UI, depending on, because the team is dedicated to some verticals. The verticals that we don't have a complete solution in, we partner with people such as yourself. We've done a few projects together. So I would say today, the AI business unit is more dedicated to the industrial side. So they do things with object recognition. They do production line fault detection, for example. Some of the team is dedicated to a lot of the medical solutions. looking into early cancer detection. But aside from that, I would say the other projects that we have ongoing, we partner with different software providers, because also the proximity to the market is important.
Absolutely. And internally for ASUS, do you see like a big culture shift because of this? I mean, it is a different market, isn't it? There's a different approach to technology and how it's applied in the market.
Yes. And ASUS being such a famous company for hardware, and that's our specialty, of course. And in all of our projects, we try to, of course, provide the hardware. But I think shifting or moving into the solutions, the whole including software, I think that is something that we are still, in progress of getting better at. Right. And I think now the AIoT business group is recruiting a lot of people who have a software background, or they have a solutions or a SI kind of background, because we need people that understand this whole process, which is quite different. And I think the fact that higher management actually gave the AIoT business group the status that it has, the same hierarchy as the other two business groups, shows that there is a commitment from their side. And they also they have this vision that they want to dedicate to this space something that they want to give it the same resources as the other business groups have. And I think so what Taiwan has seen as a tech country, let's say, is a very good growth in the decades when hardware was becoming popular and everyone was buying a computer. So there is where we caught the wave. But I would say that in terms of the internet, the era of the internet, we kind of missed it, because we didn't have such good software that could go along with that transformation. Okay. And I think at ASUS we understand that, and it is our ambition to catch the third wave, which is AI solution software. Okay.
That hence the investment in this area.
Exactly.
Fantastic. And we met in Nuremberg, Germany, a few weeks ago.
Yes.
For the Embedded World, which is a very important a trade show. And you were, ASUS had a very nice booth there with lots of new solutions. And one of them actually was with us, with Macnica as a partnership. So, but what I noticed looking at your booth was that, basically the variety, how many different markets you're actually focusing on with AI and IoT. So what are the target markets for ASUS, and what are the priorities?
Yes, Embedded World, I think, was a good show in the sense that we could show everything that we were doing, right? Because it's a show that is not a vertical show; it's more of a technology embedded show, right? And so we at ASUS, at the moment, we have 4 focus verticals. So the first one is the industrial, which is where we do fault detection with the object recognition more, and also preventive maintenance. The second one is medical. So some solutions for medical software and hardware. And the third one is, we call it retail, but really it's any commercial space. And any commercial space that will require new technology and AI. The fourth one is transportation and smart cities. So I think these last two, what I see personally is that the growth and it's more horizontal. So the applications and the speed of adoption, and also the interest is a lot more in terms of amount of projects that we're seeing compared to probably the previous two.
Okay, so how about the business model? Because everyone is talking today in terms of whatever as a service, right? And then from ASUS perspective, obviously you have this very strong and well-established business of selling hardware. And then suddenly now you're developing solutions, and you have software, you have AI. How does that change this whole dynamic of approaching the market?
Yes, this is also a question when we approach partners, they're very curious, and they also say, well, but how do we partner with you if you are sort of developing the whole thing, right? Really what we're doing is building an ecosystem. We don't want to become an ISV per se. We don't want to become an SI. I think we understand very well that our expertise is in the hardware, but we also understand that in order to sell today, you have to provide a solution. So the way that we do it, so just to take an example, the solution that we were exhibiting at Invery World. So that solution was for retail stores. We are basically using object recognition in order to determine the level of stock, especially for products that have no barcode. So for example, fruit and vegetable, bakery goods, and confectionery. So we are providing the AI model, also the hardware, the server on which it runs. But we're coming to you to provide the back end and the front end, because we know, for example, in terms of aesthetics or the business logic or what the customer wants to see, you understand that because you have presence in Brazil, in France, all over Europe. So we go to partners that have that presence and know the market to do this integration.
And for us was quite a refreshing experience, because we since we started investing as well in solutions in AI, we have been very focused on developing, let's say, the core technology behind it, like the algorithms and that kind of thing. So when you came to us and said, well, no, we already have the algorithm. What we need is to put this thing together and actually present it to the customer or to the user in a way that they can actually take value out of it. And it was definitely something different for us, but fantastic, because I think the result is showing, and I think it's gonna open a whole universe of applications that we can develop together.
Yes, I think that you mentioned a good point. I think we are quite flexible in terms of, if we have the AI, we'll provide it. But if you have, for example, if we have a customer request where we don't have the AI, we also don't have the software, we're happy to use yours, because for us, if we can provide the hardware and then we can integrate it with your software, which already runs and runs well, then why reinvent the wheel?
Right.
So
That's a good point. Yes. No, very good. So how about ASUS's perception or about the whole AI side for the market in general, like globally speaking, in terms of adoption? Do you see, I'm sure you chose these 4 major markets because you see potential for growth, but how fast is this adoption happening, really?
Right. To be very frank, I think that today AI is still in quite an early stage, and many of the projects that we have are in a pilot mode. But I think that it depends, right? Some of the projects that already are quite mature, because those, for example, license plate recognition or face recognition or age and gender, that kind of thing. I think the technology is quite mature, and the adoption, the application is very clear. So I think in those cases, for transportation management, these are very clear and they're ongoing and real projects. But other things we're still exploring. And I think the interesting thing is that the customers that come with a request for AI, they understand that this investment is a 3 to 5 year investment. They're also not expecting you to they are not expecting you to come with something that is completely solved and ready. They are happy to collaborate, and we're talking to all of their innovation teams, which also have the same mentality. So they're happy to provide material, they're happy to give you images, videos, and we've seen it working in this project, that they're very collaborative because they understand that we're building something together.
So the nature of the engagement with the customer changes from the point that, from a hardware perspective, you can have off-the-shelf products with very strict specifications, and people can just go to a catalog and buy them. Even though I'm sure everything is customizable, but with AI, it seems like there is no such thing as off-the-shelf product.
Yes,
right?
Not yet. Right? And I believe that in the future there will be a few that are mature and ready, and those be eventually off the shelf, and it'll be software as a service in a very standard way that you can get monthly. But
Right.
I think at this stage, a lot of people are still exploring, which is, but we don't want to miss this, right? This is the moment where we are giving birth to this. And
That's
I think that by the time that this technology becomes more mature, we'll be the experts. So we want to be here.
Yeah. Pioneering.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. No, that is very, very good. So about smart cities, what can you tell me in terms of what you have already developed in terms of ecosystem or applications or places that you've been? What if you can talk a little bit. And the reason why I'm asking basically is because we have a smart cities project in Joinville,
Yes.
which actually we're going to visit together
Yes.
tomorrow.
We're doing a site survey.
So we're very excited about that, very proud of it, and but we wanted to understand your perception and your experience in the different initiatives that you've seen around the world.
I think that smart cities is an old term, let's say. I think back in the 2010, 2013, around that time, people were talking about smart cities because it was so new and there weren't so many applications yet. But I think today, when we talk about smart cities, it's such a wide term that people have already narrowed it down into smaller units. So we are talking about traffic management. We can talk about security and surveillance as a standalone unit. We're talking about things like mobility in itself. So there's different, and buildings, for example, right? So we're breaking it down into more narrow, let's say, sectors. And within these, we're also looking for different partners and finding very specific applications. And the risks sometimes of working with AI and some clients, especially end users, right? They see some problems and they want a solution, but they don't quite understand the technology or what is implied to come to a solution. So they'll have unlimited imagination of what AI could do.
That is true.
It's not quite like that yet.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that what we have been doing in Smart City is to narrow down the sectors first, and then telling and identifying key problems.
Okay.
So, for example, traffic management for law enforcement, or for detecting, counting vehicles to improve the traffic flow. So, and connecting that to traffic lights. So we see that there's a lot of technology that has been there in the past already. People called it IoT. So for simple things like lighting, right? Dimming the lights in the public lights.
Yep.
But that can be now connected to AI. And why do you dim the lights, or why do you make it brighter? Probably because there was an incident, an accident, or that there's more traffic in this area at a certain period of time, so you want the light to be brighter. So these things have a logic behind it, and this is how we see that all these solutions are being connected to each other. What we've seen in the market is that in Asia, for example, a lot of the demand that we have is more on the hardware side, and there's the ecosystem is quite scattered. So there's lots of SIs that have their own solution, and they just want your hardware. They have their own software. They just want to use their thing. So in that, it is a different market. When we go to Europe, people prefer something that is more streamlined. So they want solutions, and they want something. They don't want to go out there. The SIs don't want to go out there and say, test this vendor and test that software. So there, for us, is a more fertile place to build an ecosystem. Okay. And that's where we find different partners to build these different types.
From the ISV to the SI.
Exactly.
Range.
The whole journey, yes.
Okay.
So we provide the hardware. We will be looking for people who have the AI if we don't have it. The ISV from the UI level or the bigger platform level, and then the SI who will be the ones that go out there and promote these solutions, right? Yeah, that's what we see.
It's very nice. And obviously we kind of, I'm hoping we can say that, we kind of leaving the pandemic period right now, but we just had 2.5 years that were very tough, very difficult, very limiting for us in terms of activities, and I assume it was not different for ASUS, or particularly your group. So in terms of developing new partners and going to new places and meeting new people, so that this whole thing is starting kind of now, isn't it?
Yes.
How was this experience over the past, let's say, 12 months or 18 months for you?
Right. I think during the pandemic, the demand was there, and it actually accelerated the demand for automation, for digitalization, and for being able to control things remotely. But it was difficult because we couldn't go out, right? So we couldn't travel. But at that time, I also felt that there was this eagerness of building things quickly and getting connected, because we weren't connected physically, so we wanted to get connected. And during that period of time, I remember I built lots of relationships that now I'm just meeting them. I've been traveling for business lately, and I'm meeting them for the first time.
Well, it's what happened to us.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
But we've been already working on projects
for a long time.
Yes. And I think a lot of these projects originated from the need to become more automated. Because I think in the past, people knew that was good, and it was a good to have. But now, what if one day, what if this becomes the way of life, and actually has, right? People are working remotely. What if you need more, data-driven decisions that are not so, reliant on people's experience. So, and that is all, I think, happening right now. And even though the pandemic is, we're leaving that behind, I think that has transformed the way that we see things, and we want to actually accelerate this the digitalization of everything, I would say. Okay,
no, that's great. I share the same feeling and the same hope, in a way, because I think with all the bad things that the pandemic brought us, it actually helped accelerate some movements towards technology that I'm actually quite pleased to see. So how about data security? So I don't know if you have talked to many partners or customers, but the problem is the more points collecting data and making decisions on it on its own remotely, the remote access to even if it's just for monitoring or it could be for control, it opens the door for problems. So how is that being handled, as you can see today in the market, in the technology environment in general?
Yes. Well, we have heard stories, right? Of course, and some of them are quite high profile from in the US of IoT devices being hacked, right, and then stopping the whole system.
Exactly.
And I think so. I think that this is a topic that is particularly very interesting for me, cybersecurity. And I think that there's a transformation from IT cybersecurity into OT. So and this is the same for solutions. So. Essentially, all of the technology that was only on the computer and more IT oriented is now looking at how do we take it to the physical world, and how do we make the endpoint devices more secure. Yes, and people are getting concerned, and I think for example, related to cloud, right? People are in the past were more probably scared of that, but I think that nowadays people are not. They trust that the cloud is safe. But now I think the next step would be to make OT security a priority, because that could be one of the easy entry points for hackers, right? Yeah, exactly. So it is something that scares me too, and I assume it will take quite a lot of effort and consolidation and convergence and discussion and regulations to make that happen. So let's hope things move in the right direction and nothing really bad happens before that. So I think the other question I had was basically related to ASUS's view of the global market. So obviously you have presence globally and you sell to the whole world, but how or what is the plan for South America, and how do you see South America inserted in this whole market today? Of course, if we look at South America from an innovation point of view, it is a little bit behind probably the US and Europe and Asia. But I think that it's also a very rich place to do a lot of projects where in some other places there are more, say, regulations or rules that apply and you have to go through before you can actually do anything. So I think in Latin America also, once you are connected to the right people, the speed at which you can spread and the impact that you can have, I think is much wider. So having grown up here, I think that in many of the projects here, we are very close to government agencies. For example, we're looking into traffic management, into smart cities a lot, more than probably the commercial or the industrial or the medical side. Because we also understand that once we have a pilot project or a project that is moving, the other countries and the other government agencies will follow suit.
Right.
Yes, so this is what we're looking for in South America.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you a lot of success, and may our partnership, grow as well.
Yeah, and that's the key to our partnership in the industrial park where we want to do this smart city project.
Perfect. Yeah, let's go there tomorrow and discuss more about that. And thank you so much for coming and for talking to us and sharing all this information with the public. So I hope we can have more of those in the future. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Bye.
Tecnologia,
Inovação,
cibersegurança,
soluções IoT e inteligência artificial.
tudo isso e muito mais sobre transformação digital e tendências do mercado
Você encontra aqui.
no MacneCast.